How do you capture a high-value target while the entire world is watching? You don't rush in. You design a masterclass in deception. The CIA laid the trap using a single building as bait, while more than 150 aircraft filled the skies, creating a thunderous sonic shield. That noise masked the sound of helicopters as they carried Delta Force operators straight to the objective. F-35s lit up the perimeter. Night turned into daylight. By the time the dust settled, the helicopters had already landed, and Nicolas Maduro was gone. In this video, we'll also break down how the United States uses F-35 stealth fighters and its naval forces to prepare for and launch a large-scale attack. All of that is coming up. In the dead of night, around 2 in the morning, Caracas went dark. By 5 a.m., the president of Venezuela had vanished. But how did the United States pull off such a deception while the world's attention was locked on aircraft carriers in the Caribbean? Because while cameras focused on the sea, a shadow war was unfolding on the ground. This wasn't an invasion. It was a surgical extraction. Today, we finally have a declassified timeline showing how U.S. forces penetrated the very heart of Caracas and extracted Nicolas Maduro. Let's begin with step 1, the setup. This operation wasn't improvised. For months, the United States had been tightening a naval noose around Venezuela. The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group and the USS Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group were positioned just off the Venezuelan coast. The justification was clear. Washington formally labeled the Venezuelan government a narco-terrorist state, publicly targeting drug trafficking networks. But while the Navy applied pressure from the sea, intelligence agencies were focused on one individual. They waited patiently for a precise window, a moment when Maduro would be stationary, predictable, and exposed. Then came step 2, the strike. It began exactly at 2 a.m., Venezuelan Standard Time. High above the country, multiple F-35 stealth fighters punched through Venezuelan airspace, systematically degrading enemy air defense systems. These included Russian-supplied S-300 missile batteries positioned around high-value strategic targets. Once the skies were compromised, a corridor opened, cleared for Delta Force helicopters to fly directly toward the mission objective. And this is where the deception peaked. As the helicopters advanced, U.S. jets intensified their attacks, striking Fort Tiuna, the main military headquarters, and La Carlota Air Base, crippling Venezuela's ability to respond. Reports from the ground described massive explosions, total communications failure, and widespread confusion. But the destruction wasn't the objective. It was the distraction. And that leads us to step 3. Under the cover of darkness and manufactured chaos, Tier 1 operators went to work. So which unit carried out the mission? It is the Delta Force, one of the most elite and secretive special operations units in the U.S. military. Eyewitnesses in Caracas reported low-flying aircraft skimming rooftops, flying far below radar detection thresholds. The team breached a fortified compound believed to be a secure safe house inside the sprawling Fort Tiuna complex. The Venezuelan Presidential Guard responded quickly, but the resistance collapsed under sustained helicopter cover fire. Operators moved with surgical precision, landing at multiple insertion points simultaneously. But how exactly did the capture and extraction unfold? That brings us to step 4. Specialized helicopters hovered above the target area, inserting assault teams directly onto the objective. As dozens of attack helicopters suppressed nearby positions, Delta Force operators fast roped in and began their search for the high-value target. So how did they locate him so quickly? Simple. The CIA had embedded a source deep inside Maduro's inner circle. Meanwhile, back in the United States, Delta Force had constructed a full-scale replica of the safe house, rehearsing the assault repeatedly until they could execute it blindfolded. When the breach began, it was over in seconds. Flashbangs detonated, disorienting security personnel. Operators used cutting tools to bypass reinforced doors before guards could even react. Maduro was frozen, overwhelmed by shock and speed. Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were physically secured. There were no negotiations. They were restrained and immediately moved to the extraction point. The aircraft involved were capable of urban rooftop extractions and mid-air refueling. Within minutes, they were airborne, out of Venezuelan airspace and en route to a secure floating staging base in the Caribbean. This operation, codenamed Southern Spear, reshaped South America's geopolitical landscape overnight. If you're finding this breakdown valuable, hit the like button and subscribe now. These kinds of deep dive military analyses are coming regularly, and you don't want to miss what's next. But there's more. Following the extraction, reports confirmed that F-35 stealth fighters continued operating at the tip of the spear. So why did the US rely on F-35s instead of F-16? Because Venezuela isn't an unprotected state. It has deployed advanced Russian S-300 missile systems, Chinese radar networks, integrated Russian air defenses, and Iranian Shahed drones along its borders. This creates a dense, highly lethal battle space, one that older fourth-generation fighters would struggle to survive. At the time, roughly 150 US aircraft, 8 destroyers, 3 amphibious assault ships, and multiple surveillance platforms were operating in the region. Together, they formed a massive command and control network capable of overwhelming a modern integrated air defense system. This posture signaled readiness, not just to extract a target, but to neutralize Venezuela's entire military infrastructure if required. So why didn't Venezuela's Air Force respond? As of 2025, Venezuela's combat fleet consists primarily of around 21 Russian-built Sukhoi Su-30 multi-role fighters delivered between 2006 and 2008. These aircraft form the backbone of their air power. In addition, Venezuela operates roughly 5 aging F-16 Fighting Falcons, 3 single-seat variants, and 2 two-seat F-16Vs. Due to US sanctions, maintenance and spare parts are severely limited. Despite some Israeli upgrades, Venezuela originally acquired these F-16 through the US Peace Delta program in 1982 during a period of close military cooperation. They were the first Latin American nation to receive the aircraft, with deliveries between 1983 and 1985. But today, F-16s lack the stealth required to survive against S-300V and S-400 class systems supported by Chinese and Russian radar coverage. In such an environment, non-stealth aircraft face extreme attrition risk. Mobile Buk missile systems, cheap, effective, and widely deployed, can easily engage fourth-generation fighters. Add to that drone-saturated airspace, including Iranian Shahed reconnaissance and kamikaze drones, and the challenge multiplies. The F-35 solves these problems. Its stealth profile allows it to penetrate contested airspace with reduced detection risk. Its sensor fusion, electronic warfare systems, and data link networking enable it to hunt and suppress air defenses dynamically, fixed and mobile, while adapting to Russian and Chinese radar architectures in real time. As these aircraft dismantled Venezuela's air defenses, CIA and special operations units advanced toward their objective. The combined presence of Russian, Chinese, Iranian, and domestic air defense systems means stealth fighters are essential for first-wave operations. They provide both survivability and strike dominance. Now consider distance. Puerto Rico lies approximately 1,300 kilometers, about 810 miles, from Venezuela. At high subsonic speed, that's roughly a 90-minute flight for an F-35. With a combat radius of about 770 miles, F-35s can reach most of Venezuela with precise fuel planning and limited loiter time. To extend operations, U.S. aerial refueling tankers are positioned throughout the Caribbean. In rapid response scenarios, amphibious assault ships equipped with F-35s can launch strikes even faster. From those ships, jets can reach Venezuelan targets in as little as 10 to 15 minutes. These targets include narco-trafficking networks, air defense sites, command centers, and drone facilities. This sea-based flexibility gives the U.S. unmatched strike options. In short, the deployment of F-35s near Venezuela fundamentally redefines military power in the region. It merges stealth, sensor dominance, electronic warfare, and networked operations to maintain air superiority and rapid strike capability across Venezuela. This strategy goes far beyond counter-narcotics. It is designed to deter and, if required, decisively defeat the Venezuelan military. We've also prepared a deep dive into the sea, air, and land components of the nuclear triad. So here's the real question. If this was only a surgical extraction, what does a full-scale operation actually look like? Subscribe now so you don't miss the next video, and stay ahead of the stories shaping global power before they happen.